Welcome back to Switched to Linux. Well, today we want to do just another nice outdoor video. I've been driving all day, and so I thought I'd just go ahead and do a brief thoughts, some updates. Mistakes were made. We're going to talk about the Matt Walsh hack and basically the mistakes that were made on his system and why it was a problematic thing for him. And really, if you follow a lot of the advice that I've given on this channel, you wouldn't be as nearly impacted, if impacted at all. So I'm going to link his video down below that he kind of explains all of the things that happened to him. So it just kind of started with like a bad week, and then it just started with a bad day at church, and somebody kind of verbally assaulted him. Whatever, he gets that all the time. He doesn't care. The problem came when somebody SIM swapped his phone, and that provided access to all of his accounts. And then another issue where YouTube, of course, demonetized him entirely for a lot of things. I can't help with all that kind of stuff. I mean, you talk about free and open source software that's available for download on the Google Play Store, and my channel gets dinged. So we're not going to talk about any of that. What I do want to talk about and focus on is the hack. Now, here's the end result. Now, how did it happen? As he said, it was a SIM swapping attack. So a SIM swapping attack, you'll remember, is when somebody either does a social engineering or pays their way into changing your SIM card, basically stealing your phone number and putting it in another device. Now, the problem is most of your big tech stuff out there, when you are utilizing a phone number for security, two-factor authentication, the phone number becomes the de facto way in. Like, okay, he's got the phone, this must be him, even if you don't know any other information. And so that's the problem with a SIM swap attack, and why I say never use your phone for anything. I know other privacy-focused channels have said, well, we have to use our phones for our YouTube accounts. Balderdash. Google does not have my phone number. They don't have it. I don't use it for anything because Google allows you to do the full 2FA security implementation with a Yubikey. You just got to set it up. That's what I have done. Somebody can steal my phone number. First, you have to figure out what my phone number is. And then if you have the phone number, the problem is it's not tied to any accounts. It's not tied to any banks. It's not tied to any logins. It's not tied to any social media. There is nothing you can do with my phone number. Now, the consequences of this, as he said in his video, the hackers got into all of his accounts, but they also got all of his old emails. They got all of his photographs. They got his text messages. Basically, what this tells me is he's using an iPhone, and as he's using an iPhone, he was utilizing the iCloud sync and syncing all of his stuff. Now, there is a chance he would be doing all that with Android as well, but it's more likely he was utilizing an iPhone. So basically, somebody got into and grabbed all of the information out of his iPhone account, his Apple account. This is what explains how people were able to get his text messages, get his pictures, get his emails, because basically somebody else got an iPhone, SIM swapped it, and mirrored his phone and his device and all of his information because he was utilizing all of those big tech services as his backup. That's why you don't do that. So first, you do not use your phone number for anything, okay? But wait, before I get into the first, let me explain. In his case, it appears as though it was a targeted attack, which is very common. You just got to poke and probe until you can find some guy inside the network that's going to give you access that you need. All right, so that is how it happened. It wasn't a random thing. It wasn't just some accidental. It was a legit targeted. That's what we know. Now, here's what you do. First and foremost, you do not use your phone number for 2FA for anything. If it absolutely 100% has to, you can secure it extra with a hidden burner phone that's not in your name. Using my Mint Mobile, for example, I don't even have to give them any real information. I don't have to give them payment information. I don't have to give them an address. Now, you might have to if you were to use my affiliate link and have them send a SIM card. You might have to do that. But you can get Mint Mobile by going to a Best Buy or some other store that has them, pick up the card directly at the store and activate your account. And I'm not offended if you do that, because when you do that, you don't have to have them send you anything. All right, you have a really good way of securing all of your information just by doing that. That's if you absolutely have to. But nearly every one of these services, they will allow a 2FA with a Yubikey. You just got to click that more options button, and that's where you're going to find that information. Now, once you are utilizing the device, where he had his biggest flaw is he relied on Apple or Android, most likely Apple in this case, to keep all of his information safe. The problem is once somebody SIM swaps you, you don't have that as a real option. And so people were able to get in there. Why? Because he was syncing everything he had into this big tech. Don't do that. Okay, first and foremost, you should have the majority of your not absolutely necessary stuff in an offline system, which, by the way, you can sync your text messages to an IMAP email account using a couple of Android apps, and then simply save an offline copy if you need to save old text messages that are not currently relevant. You can do that kind of stuff. You can use your own email accounts using a cPanel, an ISP config, some other email server. And if you do that, you can keep complete backup copies of everything without having all of your stuff on some big tech system that everybody knows how to get into it if you simply pull off a SIM swap attack. Okay, you don't put your photos inside of a cloud that is easy connected to your phone number. Ideally, you shouldn't put all your photos inside of a cloud like Apple or Google or Microsoft anyway. You should be using something like Nextcloud. And I talked a lot about Nextcloud, and I will have some more Nextcloud content coming up soon as we, look at that, somebody's Bud Lighting, that's not me. I will take that bottle with me when I leave. The problem is he stored all this information. You should use Nextcloud or offline storage. I clear my phone on a very regular basis. I have all of my photos from all of my journeys, all of the things that I do. I clear that phone on a monthly basis at the latest. Keep all those things, dual copies, offline. I'm not using Cloud Sync. I'm not utilizing Google or Apple or anybody else for big email servers. That's where he made his mistake. He assumed everything was fine. He utilized this automatic syncing system on his phone, and then somebody SIM swapped him, stole the phone number, and was able to wreak complete havoc. All right, so that is really what happened with him, and his mistakes were that he relied too much on big tech and didn't really think about the fact and didn't know such a thing like SIM swapping was a problem until it actually happened. So pay attention on this channel to when we talk about hacks like this, and do the steps you can by making your phone number useless to hackers. That's what I have done. I don't have anything tied to that. You get that? You're not going to sync anything. There's no iCloud account. There's no Google account. There's no Microsoft account. There's nothing tied to that number. There's no banks tied to that number. There's nothing tied to that number. That's the thing you need to do. And then the problem is we're using all these smartphones and then utilizing the auto sync features. Here's what you should do instead. You can sync all of that stuff, your text messages, your emails, your photos, your contacts, all that stuff. You can do that on a Nextcloud. That is an option, and it is not a difficult option. And then you have more control over that. And if somebody SIM swaps your number, they don't have that automatically, because that's not tied to your number. That's tied to your logins. They have to know you're on Nextcloud. They have to install it, and then they have to set up the syncing systems within the new device. It's actually fairly easy if you have all the information, but it's very difficult if you don't. So there's the mistakes that he made. He relied too much on the big tech companies, and this is why I teach to avoid the big tech companies as much as you possibly can. It is a problem when you do that. So with that being said, thank you for watching this video. We do have, of course, some support links down in the description of this video. And if you're wondering about this wonderful scenery, this is in the Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania. So with that, though, we are going to jump off here. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.